Good morning to those who just walked in. When I heard the FIRES topic, there was a management consultant or a famous management guru who had summed up the entire FIRES in one single statement. A place for everything and everything in its place. As simple as that. Also as a joke, Mr. Arvind was talking about the fight over the closet. There's a famous joke which says the wife and husband get into an argument. Obviously it's about the wardrobe. And the wife comes and tells the husband, I don't have enough dresses and I don't have enough place to keep what I have. We all know what it means. It's a paradox. Anyway, what is the need for learning? It's one of the questions I'm going to ask myself and ask all of you also. Why do we need to learn? What is the purpose? Whether you are an individual or you are part of the corporate watching through the web, what is the need for us to learn? Should we learn at all? If you have to learn, what is the need and how do we learn? If you really look at the corporate side, let me just go to the board. All organizations, as part of the growth strategy, have to keep growing. Growth typically in corporate parlance means an increase in top line or bottom line. All these normally gets converted as goals. These goals which are at the corporate level then get sort of divided down to the respective departments and then to the respective teams, the team leads, the project heads or whatever, and finally becomes your KRA, whatever, and finally that's what you are supposed to achieve for you to get a good rating and for you to move up the organizational ladder. These goals also necessitate something as part of the organization. The organization is forced to go through a restructuring process on a continuous basis. What I was last year, what I was 2 years back, what I was 3 years back as an organization, the organizational structure that I had, the kind of people that were heading the show are no more valid because my goals have changed. My goalpost is changing. I've added a few new products and services. I've added a new products and services which need separate groups to handle that, and we find there is an influx of people who are walking into the organization. They have to be fitted. And then you form new teams, new projects, new team leads who get part of that. What is continuously happening is that the structure of the organization is changing. What is imminent in this is that today you have a specific role in a specific department and then tomorrow you find that you have been shunted out to another department or another project. This also means that your role is constantly changing. The role that I had last year is not the role that I have 6 months back, it's not the role I have today, will not be the role I have 3 months or 6 months from now. Which also means that my goals have changed. When my goals have changed, the education or the knowledge or the skill set that I was speaking about yesterday, which is essential for you to reach your goals, are no more relevant. Since the goals have changed, what typically happens is the skill sets with which I came into the organization to achieve a given goal for which I was hired is no more valid. It has now changed. It's like one of the famous quotes that Bill Gates made in his book. He says organizational change is something like this. You go into a swimming pool, you have depth of 3 feet, you have depth of 18 feet, and there is a diving board. In a normal swimming pool, the depth is measurable, predictable. You know exactly where the deepest part is. You take the board and jump. Bill Gates says that organizations don't work like a normal swimming pool. Imagine a swimming pool in which you get in and then come out. And before you jump again, the depths have been altered completely. and you don't know, it is not transparent, you can't see the depths. And yet the next time when you dive from a diving board, you have to dive in the right place without crashing in a 3-foot place. Because now the 3 feet, which was 3 feet, would have become 12. What was 12 would have become 18. What was 18 would have become 3. Hence, you don't know where you are jumping. He said organizational change is such that you need to be ready to jump into the pool every time as if the depths have been altered and you have no idea where you are jumping in. This is exactly what happens. As a student, it's a reasonably comfortable journey. 3 years, your journey in the organization of SRM University is predictable. The semesters, the studies, the papers you are going to study, all are available to you. It's sort of a predictable model. In a real organization, even in personal life, this is not predictable. Let's take the personal life for example. Like an organization, there is a person or an individual. The way the organization have goals, the individuals have something called as needs. The needs that I have last year is no more valid. Last year I wanted to buy a two-wheeler. This year I want to buy a high-end phone. Next year I want to go on a holiday. The year after I want to buy some jewelry. The year after I want to buy a large asset. Every year, not only my needs, the composition of my family who are dependent on the income that I bring to the table, their needs are also continuously changing. Which means the structure there becomes my personality here. The personality which I have 3 months back, 6 months back, 1 year back is not valid anymore. If I need to reach my new goals, I must be ready to become the new personality I must to bridge the gap between what I am today to what I have to become. This is the need for continuous learning. This also gives you a very key point that we have been insisting throughout the session from yesterday till now. Without a goal, life literally becomes meaningless. Without a purpose, your existence becomes meaningless. If I have to just float around and pick up whatever knowledge I have to get, which is not aligned with the goal that I have. For example, if you had been clear in the year 1, or you can make yourself clear right today, what am I going to get into at the end of 3rd year MBA? Which company, which organization, which department, which seat, where am I going to sit, what kind of work am I going to produce, what kind of results am I going to bring to the table? If I have that kind of knowledge ahead, imagine if you can work, something what I shared yesterday, begin with the end in mind. 3 years from now when I graduate, let me decide, if at all if I want to take an employment, which employer do I want to get into. I don't need to give the choice of being rejected to someone else. I would rather shortlist today that these are the 3 jobs, these are the 3 organizations, these are the locations I want. To get this, what do I have to do? Then my personality composition becomes quite easy for me. Now having understood this, let us look at another example and then I will connect to this as to what are the 4 steps involved for us in this lifelong learning cycle. Let's imagine a huge closed gate community. In this closed gate community, there is a home, there are parents and they are, you can say, single parents, or rather what you call as husband, wife and a small kid of about 2.5 years. The kid has just started learning how to walk. One day when both parents are not there at home, the kid starts walking around and as it comes out, it sees a huge pool of water. He doesn't know what it is, it has never seen water before. It is not being monitored, so it just goes for a walk. And suddenly it gets interested because it finds people are floating from water from one end to another end. It's also excited, gets into water when nobody is noticing, and what happens to the kid typically? Drowns. Let us say that somebody picks the kid out. The first thing the father tells, the parents tell the kid is to move from point A to point B in water which is deeper beyond your height, you need to know something called as swimming. All along, the kid was never aware of this. He just thought, just have to get in and go like this. After all, many of our religious people have done that, walking on water. Last week I was watching something on YouTube where a magician has been doing that. He just walks on water and people just stand and take photographs. If you can do a search, it's one of the top videos which is showing up on YouTube last week. What it went through is what we all go through when we are exposed to a situation. What in learning parlance we call as unconscious incompetence, UI in short form. I am not aware that I am not aware. In pure simple management or normal English parlance, we call it as ignorance. I am not aware that I am supposed to know swimming for me to get into water. Okay, fine. Now I have gone out of the state of ignorance. What am I supposed to do next? I have become aware of my ignorance. I have been shaken out. We move to the state of conscious incompetence. I am aware that I am not competent to do this job. When a manager, when a person, you are suddenly, for example, Dr. Jayashree calls you and says, do this task for you. Tomorrow you are supposed to do this. And you have been exposed to the task and suddenly you find you don't have the competencies to do that. You are in a stage of what is called as unconscious incompetence. Now you are sitting and thinking, okay, I am supposed to know this. This is my conscious incompetence. At least I am aware what I don't know. In a SWOT parlance, this is what is called as weakness. A weakness that you are not aware of is ignorance. A weakness that you are aware of is awareness. Okay, what do I do now? If I am the kid who went into the swimming pool and father has told me that you must learn swimming for you to be able to swim, the kid has two choices to make. Either he can decide to pursue or decide I don't want it. Let's take that the kid takes a decision to pursue. This is what I spoke yesterday morning. A skill set is nothing but knowledge in action. The kid now gets a coach, gets into the water, practices. It builds up consciously. When you learnt to do your bike for the first time, you had to know when to leave the clutch, when to engage the brake, when to accelerate, when to decelerate, when to apply the brake, when to look into the mirror. All these things we are doing consciously. A conscious competence is when by repetitive performance you build up by applying that knowledge and make it as a skill set. Would it be sufficient? No. Today, many of you who come by bike, yesterday I was just overhearing a conversation, one of you was sitting here, that person is still in front of me. He said, I rode to the college in less than half an hour time. I made it fast. Which meant that person didn't have to even think how to ride. It's something automatic. Let us imagine that this kid is now 15 years old. It is now become an aquatic champion of Tamil Nadu state. Does it have to remember while getting into water how to swim, how to put my hand, how to breathe, what is front stroke, what is back stroke, what is freestyle? Doesn't have to remember. It becomes automatic. This is the stage we call it as unconscious competency, or you become an expert. For many of us here, those speakers that you saw yesterday and today, all you have to do is wake us up, give us a topic name, we can get on and start off. Almost all topics. Even if you have to do something, a topic you are not comfortable, at least we will ensure you don't know. That is our unconscious competency. All you have to do is just put us here. Likewise, each one of you will have an unconscious competency with each one of you. Find it. Unconscious competencies, according to Dr. Prahalad, are what are called as core competencies. The core competency, what makes a person. This is what your real strength is. But strength alone will not help. For example, all of you have finished MBA today. While you are doing MBA, right across your campus, there are people who are going through a 5-year intense course to become doctors. If they have to become MBAs at the end of 3 years, or some of you want to choose to become doctor, you cannot transfer that knowledge straight away at that level and become the other expert. You have to start afresh. The common thread which unites all of us in this journey is to fit into any role. I have two choices to make. I can be proactive, I can be reactive. A reactive role acceptance is when you are pushed into the role. It's like someone pushing into the water, and now because you are exposed, you start learning how to swim. Whereas a proactive approach is when I decide what my goals are. Hence, goal setting becomes a proactive exercise, not a reactive exercise. This is why corporates to a great extent are driven by goals. And they all know that people love to be reactive. Hence, they put the goals on you so that you are forced to change forcibly. Yet your personal personality doesn't change much. So if you have to look at the 4-step lifelong learning cycle, all you have to do is decide where you want to be 2 years, 3 years from now, once you finish your graduation. At least for those who are live audience here. Those who are watching through the web, in 2 to 3 years from now in your career, decide what you want to be, where you want to be, work backwards, map your core competencies, delete the goal and the strengths and find out what are the empty boxes, take it forward, become an expert. I am sure that you will soon be a winner. Thank you.